Digimon Liberator has given us some absolute bangers in terms of new Digimon. The new level 7s especially, as Necromon, Hudiemon, and Ariemon have all looked really sick and have had some impacts on the meta. And guess who's getting that new level 7? Is part of Bt23, Necromon. And that's been a deck that I've really enjoyed playing, as it was a purple deck that was pretty easy to understand. You make a stack, it swings, it dies, you play at smaller bodies, and you do it all over again. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend our video on why you should build Necromon, as that'll give you a good understanding as to what the deck does, strength, and weaknesses it has. One of the biggest issues of half the deck is that it doesn't have a lot of DP to swing over big bodies, unless you wanted to burn a retaliation on it, and nothing in the deck gave it rush, so all those stacks got played out, and they didn't really do a whole lot. But to top it all off, Digimon took its gimmick and did it so much better, which just made me so mad. Come on, Greymon X, why do you have to do the exact same thing, except specifically for Guillemons? Like, come on! But again, all that changes in Bt23, as a lot of the support here does fix the problems that have the deck. And since they restricted Digimon, it's a big W for Ghost players, as that means you aren't going to be dealing with that copycat anymore, you're going to be dealing with the OG. So let's go over the new support and find out just how good the new Ghost support really is. Starting us off, we have our new egg, which is a purple level 2 Dullahamon, which has an inheritable of on deletion, one new Digimon with the Ghost trait gains blocker and retaliation until the end of your opponent's turn. Now here's a unique egg. On deletion, you can give another one of your ghosts block or retaliation, allowing you to swing with that first stack, it dies, you play another stack off the inheritables, and then that new body will have block retaliation. Then when that body blocks or retaliates in something else and gets deleted, you can then activate all your on deletions. The only thing is, there's another card that gives you blocker, and there are other cards that give you retaliation. And I have to ask, would you want to run this over the other Digimon? As that lets you grab back pieces, and I think in a deck that's all about throwing things into your trash and having cards that will toss things into the trash like Analog Youth, it's much better to have a card that grabs pieces back. I'm gonna say this card is lost, but like barely. Maybe as a 5th egg if you're really pushing it, but because we have other cards that basically fill this role at higher levels, it shouldn't really see that much use. Up next, we have our new Ghostmon, which is a level 3 purple Digimon that digivolves from a purple level 2 for a cost of 0. And it has an on-play on deletion. One of your Digimon with the Ghost trait gains blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. With the inheritable, on deletion, gain a memory. Now you see why I say you don't need Digimon, as you can just play this out and it'll give your stack blocker. Sure, you don't get retaliation, but again, there are other cards like the promo Bakemon that give retaliations. Not to mention, this effect is both on play and on deletion, so if you have to pop it for whatever reason or it dies, you can give something else blocker. It gets played out for free off of your first stack dying from those inheritables, or it can get played out off of the new emblem or the new violet as well. Not to mention, the inheritable for on deletion gain a memory is always a plus. This card would have been sauced just because it was named Ghostmon, but all those other effects make it just that much better. Up next, we have what I think is the most impactful Digimon in the deck, and that is our new level 4 purple Bakemon, which is also a level 3 purple Digimon for a cost of 2. It has an on-play when digivolving. By deleting one of your Digimon, delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. With the inheritable, and on deletion, gain a memory. One of the biggest problems we have with the deck is that if you had a stack out and it didn't get deleted for whatever reason, either execute hasn't gone off yet, or it can't swim because it's been stunned, you had to try and pop it, and the best way you could pop it was with option cards, and those, well, no deck really uses options that much anymore. Outside of, well, you know, memory boosts and other options that boost consistency. But this, I could just hard play this down for a cost of 4, it pops my stack, assuming it's a full stack, I gain back 2 memory there, and I can keep turn and activate all my on deletions. Not to mention, it's pretty good floodgate removal. Man, I am so glad there aren't any floodgates that are higher than level 3. Yep, none at all. This card enables so much shenanigans, as you can play it out, pop something else, and then just gain memory, gain effects, and just a whole bunch of really complicated purple shenanigans. I could feel my brain wrinkling the more I play with this card. It's named Bakemon, which is great for the warp into your new Phantomon, and all it needed to do was be better than promo Bakemon, and that was a low bar to clear. This card is sauce. Up next, we have our purple level 5 Phantomon, which digivolves from a purple level 4 for a cost of 3. It has the hand main effect if you have a violet inboots in play. By placing a Bakemon from your trash on any of your Ghostmons at its bottom Digivolution card, it may digivolve into this card for a Digivolution cost of 3, ignoring Digivolution requirements. With an inheritable, on deletion, you may play level 4 or lower Ghost trait Digimon from your trash without paying the cost. I will say this shares a lot of similarities with the Proganomon from EX10, by which I mean they don't keep their keywords. Actually, that's where the similarities end. The warping is always a plus, though you can't use with the effect of Bt20 Violet or Train to reduce the evolution costs, so you have to actually pay the 3 every single time. except you don't have to, because if you use Bt23 Ghostmon, it can evo for a cost of 2 instead. Aside from the warp, the on deletion from both the card and the inherit till you play a level 4 or lower is great to start that recursion for bodies. It's just a solid card. I just wish it had execute. Aside from that, the card is sauce. Our next Digimon is our purple level 6 Necromon, which digivolves from our purple level 5 for a cost of 3. It has execute and an on play on deletion. You may play one level 5 or lower Digimon with the ghost trait from your trash without paying the cost. With an all turns effect, when another Digimon attacks, by deleting this Digimon, delete one of your opponent's level 6 or lower Digimon. If this effect didn't delete an opponent's Digimon, you may end that attack instead. This is another big brain card, as on the surface, it costs less than its BT20 counterpart, and honestly that can make a big difference, as having one less memory to spend can be beneficial, but you're also trading away an extra security attack and the ability to delete lowest level, and personally I think that can be worth it. The all turns effect is really unique, as when another Digimon attacks, be it your own or your opponent's, you can pop the stack to then pop one of their Digimon, and if it doesn't, you just stop the attack. So it can prevent that swing for game, and that can be powerful. If I'm being honest, the deck's gone from pretty straightforward to having a lot of like 4D chess plays, which you can do, and I think that's pretty cool, but it's a little less beginner friendly. I do think that both the Bt20 Necromon and this have its place in the deck, and they both have the uses. This card is sauce. I think the ratios now become 3 Bt20 and then 2 of these at most. And our last Digimon to go over is our new boss monster, a purple level 7 Dullahamon. Digivolves from a purple level 6 for a cost of 4, or a Phantomon while you have a Violet Inboots out for a cost of 6. It's got Piercing, Security Attack +1, and Execute. When Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the highest level. If this effect didn't delete, this Digimon gains 5k DP for the turn. With an on deletion, you may play one level 6 or lower Digimon with the ghost trait from your trash without paying the cost. This card does a lot to fix the deck. Personally, I've always wanted a way to get piercing for this, as executing into an unsuspended body is great, but then if I don't pierce, I'm just moving the body and not really getting a whole bunch of checks in. I also think that this deck was also very squishy, so having that DP buff bring up to 19k is just fantastic. Especially since Necromon is kind of folded to any big wall decks. Between this and Bt20 Necromon, this can remove a ton of things on the board, with Dullahamon getting the highest level and Necromon Bt20 moving the lowest level. And have no fear if you can't delete them, because you're 19k just gonna steamroll over them, so it's not as big of a concern. That on deletion is also really good too, because if you execute, do your 2 checks and then blow up your stack, you can play at level 6 or lower ghost trait Digimon. Personal favorite thing to do is play out a Necromon and then Digivolve into Ruin mode, so you just lock down your opponent's board. Not to mention, with all the inheritables for on deletion, play out bodies, you can go pretty wide with just a single stack. This card is sauce. Run it as a 2 or 3 in the deck, just depending on what the ratios are with the Necromons. Up next, we have our Swap Tamer, our 3-cost purple Violet Inboots, which has a start of main phase. By bottom decking this Tamer, you can play another Violet Inboots from your hand without paying the cost. Then, if you don't have a Digimon, you can play a Ghostmon from your trash without paying the cost. It has a your turn effect. When any of your Digimon digivolve into a Ghost Trait Digimon by suspending this Tamer, that Digimon gains Rush. With security effect, play this card without paying the cost. I cannot explain how happy this card makes me. Personally, my biggest pet peeve of the deck is on the stacks that got played out from the main stack. They just kind of sat there. Best case, they were a block with retaliation. Worst case, they just kind of sat there and did nothing. Now, at least you have a way to give the deck rush, so there's no more of this weird ebb and flow of swinging and then doing nothing. You can just go swing, keep turn, swing again, and just go nuts. The only thing I will say is that you will have to Digivolve, so if you have a level 5 in hand, play at the level 4, Digivolve into the 5, and then execute for that check. I don't know how much benefit the swap effect is going to have, especially because that your turn effect is just so good. Why would you ever want to just swap that out for a cheaper Digivolve or a memory setter? The cheaper Digivolve is of course a good thing, I'm not saying it's not, but this is just top tier. So in case you couldn't guess, this card is major sauce. And our last card support is our unique emblem, Soul Banquet, which is a 3-cost purple option. It has a main effect. You may play one Ghostmon or Violet Inboots from your hand or trash without paying the cost, then place this card in the battle area. With a your turn effect, when any of your Violet Inboots suspend, one of your Digimon with the Ghost trait may Digivolve into a Digimon card with the Ghost and Liberator traits in the hand for a Digivolution cost reduction of 3. With the security effect, activate this card's main effect. This card kind of makes me sad. Not because it's a bad card, far from it, this card is really good. It's just that it's stuck with some bad tamers to complement it. Unlike with Close, Yao, and even Arisa, All 3 of them have at least 3 tamers that can suspend. Violet only has 2. Her BT18 tamer can't suspend. And what sucks is if you already have BT20 out, that'll let you reduce the cost by 2, and this won't stack. So what that means is if you play at level 3 off your first stack that died, and then suspend the Violet, you can do it over to level 4 for a cost reduction of 2, and then use Soul Bang to go into level 5 for a cost reduction of 3. They don't stack, so you can't do a cost reduction of 5 to go into your Dullahamon, for instance. It is still cool that you can digivolve from a 3 to a 5 for free. The other cool part of this card, of course, is you can play a card from trash. So if you've already dumped in your Ghostmons due to like an analog youth or something else, just play that sucker out and you're good to go. I just hope as part of EX11's Liberator support that we get another Violet, so that way we can have 3 with suspending abilities, because as of right now, it's not the best. Sometimes you have a really good card that's stuck behind some really bad other cards that support it, and I think this is a prime example of it. The card's still sauce though. Well, after everything's said and done, how's the deck now? I think it's a lot of fun and it's way stronger, but it's also way more complicated and a bit more technical to pilot, as there are now more order of operations to do, and understanding when to use delay effects versus when to use your on deletions, and understanding use on deletion of something and then play it out before activating the on deletion. That effect doesn't happen anymore, and there are just a lot of stuff in purple that like you have to keep track of and understand. The deck went from simply a simple swarm deck to a swarm deck that involves a lot of steps and making sure you do things in the correct order. Still super fun though. I will say that between both Dullahamon and the Necromon from BT20 and even the new one, you've got a lot of tools here to make the deck both hyper aggressive and pretty defensive. The one call that I will mention is that if you plan to run Metal Phantomon, that cannot warp into Dullahamon. It needs to be a Phantomon specifically, not a Digimon with Phantomon in name. I do think that this deck has a ton of potential in the meta, especially for just going super fast. Though there are a couple things to watch out for, like Floodgates, and of course that bastard Royal Knights card Gallantmon. I don't understand why they printed that in the exact same set as all this super cool ghost stuff. Like, you couldn't give Necromon just one set to breathe and be like top tier. That being said, Gallantmon only sets you back 1 turn, and if you outspeed them, you're still pretty good. I'm gonna have to give the new Ghostmon support 4 spooky scary skeletons out of 5. And here's my deck list. Pretty straightforward. It's just all the ghosts and all the stuff. If you look at it and you think, wow, this is some pretty gritty ratios, honestly, it doesn't feel that bad, especially because you can always just swing with an initial stack and use that Necromon to grab something back from your trash. And you're filling things up pretty quickly using the analog youths, as well as having searcher cards like Wisdom Training and your BT20 Ghostmon to search for pieces. You can always try adjusting the ratio to be a bit more standard, but I find that this ratio here does work pretty well for me. Chimeramon, of course, is just there for that one final swing for game, and between that and your Violets, you're able to swing a lot with this deck, especially if you're able to keep turn. But what do you guys think? After I saw Pyramidimon, I thought that Ghostmon would be getting the same treatment, but don't get me wrong, Dullahamon is great, but I don't think it's going to be as impactful as Necromon was. Anyways, I've been Pro Ninja. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.